Podcasts, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast.
There are 4 lights!
Its 5-year mission to explore strange, familiar worlds, to seek out new listeners and new civilizations, to boldly go where most nerds have gone before. Join Matt and Shirley on their 5-year mission with a different guest each week as they talk about an episode of Star Trek, from the original series through Enterprise. They'll cover every episode, eventually.
Hi everybody and welcome back to There Are 4 Lights. I'm Matt and I'm here with Shirley.
Hello.
And this week we have a special guest with us, Rob Southgate of Southgate Media. So, hey Rob, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm so excited to talk Trek with you guys.
All right, we're excited about it too. So you, before we get into that, you do a podcast or two, right?
Just a couple.
So tell us, I don't know, choose whatever you want to. Tell us about Southgate Media and any of the podcasts.
Oh man, well, first of all, Southgate Media Group. We my wife and I started this. We have 70 plus podcasts. By within the next couple months, I'm sure we'll top 100. Lots of pop culture, geek culture, just things that interest us. But it's not all just rooted in that. You know, we've got some other things on the horizon that are outside of that world. So if you've got an interest, if there's something you're kind of geeky about, we probably have something about it. I do a lot of podcasts, but probably the two that I'd like to highlight. I am the host with a couple other guys with Alil and Jack on the Nuff Said podcast, which is a Marvel podcast. That is a very popular one for us. We're kind of like that band that all the bands like. So I don't know if people listen to us as much as the other podcasts, but they're all like, we love this show. So if you like Marvel stuff, you like just people joking around and having a good time about it, we're not like very intelligent about it. One of us is. Alil is. Jack and I, we're goofballs, but we have a great time with it. The other thing is every Saturday night in Elgin, Illinois, we do live podcasts at a Doctor Who cafe called the Blue Box Cafe. Every weekend, we're doing 3 live podcasts. So when we talk about doing a lot of podcasts, the content changes all the time. Yeah. Probably the most popular thing that is regular there is This Week in Geek, where we go through the geek news. Just got its own feed on iTunes, and that is one of the most popular things we do. So right there you go. There's a couple little hits, but we've got everything, and it's just a blast. And everybody here is just a pleasure to work with and a lot of fun.
When you guys do a lot of shows, everything from Once Upon a Time to The Bachelor.
Yes. Yeah, well, the Once Upon a Time, my daughter created that. It's called Ever After. She also created a Doctor Who one called Cuckoo for Who. She created those when she was 6. She's 8 now. And at iTunes, they told me she is the youngest regular host of a podcast.
Right on.
Yeah, and Ever After, she's done over 100 episodes in a year. It's amazing. Don't call DCFS.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You've also done some fantastic shows like Under the Dome, right?
Fantastic! Wait a minute, I wouldn't go that far, man. Yeah, that was actually our first for our network. Martha and I were sitting on the couch, and she said we should do a podcast for our network on this, and that was it. We did. We got out a little MP3 recorder, recorded at our couch, and then went, how do we put this on the computer? And that was it. Yeah. That was it. That was the start of everything.
That's a tough one. How do I get this on anything?
Yeah.
It's always a tough question. You guys can find them all over at southgatemediagroup.com. And there's, they've got podcast blogs, and all the contact information for all their hosts. So you can, email people ridiculous questions about their wonderful things and get answers.
Oh, yes. We love to talk. So any way you can do it. Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, any of it. We're on everything.
Right on. So this week on There Are 4 Lights, we are going to talk about the 2-part episode, our first 2-part episode, The Menagerie, which is a weird Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, it is.
Episode.
Yeah, but it's so cool.
Very
cool.
cool.
Are we going to have controversy on this?
I don't know. I for 1966, I think this was cutting edge. They did a lot of really good writing. the downside to this is that I don't know. The end of it kind of killed it for me, but that's okay. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Right. So there's a lot of plot here. There's 4 acts in 2 shows, so I'm going to speed through this a little more than normal, mostly because there's a lot going on. And we've already covered a chunk of it because this is also The Cage.
Yeah.
So the show opens on Starbase 11, where we find out that Christopher Pike has been damaged by delta waves, saving some crew members, and now he can't...
Saving children.
Oh, saving children, you're absolutely right. He can't do much. He kind of sits in this weird Professor X wheelchair and beeps at people to answer their questions yes and no.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Got some weird facial scarring. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on the makeup there, but he's got some weird facial scarring. He can't do much. But the crew of the Enterprise was summoned there by him, or so they're told.
Right.
And we start to find out that Spock has begun lying to the crew about this particular situation. Quickly, Spock messages the ship again through pre-recorded data discs.
Okay, that was awesome. That was awesome when he had those discs and he was putting them in.
And he kept flipping them in and out.
Is this where Home Alone got that idea?
Oh.
Is that, I mean, because
I'm sure.
I couldn't stop thinking like, oh look, it's Kevin and his talk boy.
And it was so clunky. It's just great.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking like, this is like a precursor to 3 1/4 inch floppy
the
disks.
Floppies, yeah.
You know?
Those discs, we've seen them a couple of other times in other episodes, but those discs, man, I don't miss that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it was ridiculous.
I have a CD-ROM drive on my computer, and I'm glad I do, but man, 3.5, 5 1/4, those things were huge and nasty, and Anyway, so...
I liked them. We used them as Frisbees.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
What your problem is with the technology.
So Spock takes over the ship, calls Dr. McCoy up to take care of Captain Pike. Doesn't tell him why he's being called up the ship. They leave Kirk behind, and they flee. And so Kirk and the Commodore of the space station get in a shuttlecraft and chase them down, or try to. And they get far enough out that the shuttlecraft can't keep going, and they're going to die, because they're going to lose their oxygen. And Spock finally stops, or inputs a new code into the computer, because the computer has been flying this whole time. It's been this super top secret mission. Stops the ship, brings the crew on board, or brings Kirk and the Commodore on board, has himself arrested for mutiny, and puts himself on trial for court-martial. All the while, the computer is still flying them to Talos 4, the restricted planet, Talos 4.
It's
right.
Talos 4 star group.
Yeah.
It's on autopilot. They have no control of this.
Yeah, and they try and shut it down, and they try and do anything, and it's just not working.
There's no computer override in
There's no computer override. I miss, the more I watch this, and I don't mean it in a bad way, the more I miss Next Generation, and they really stepped up their game for Next Generation.
They did.
And this isn't bad, but it's just showing me how much more they worked at it. They get there, they finally arrive at Talos 4. Meanwhile, Spock is going through his court-martial, which is essentially them seeing what happened to Christopher Pike in the cage.
Right.
From where we saw it. So literally they're replaying the cage. So at this point...
They're just replaying an old episode. Yeah.
Well, and at this point, the pilot was released in a very small release. Didn't do well, so they did a second pilot called These Are the Voyages. That one did much better, and that one had a more regular crew. And I know we've talked about it on this, but if you're a first-time listener, we'll touch base on it a little bit. So the cage was a weird crew that none but Spock stuck around. Well, I guess Majel Barrett stuck around as well. But those are the only two that actually stuck around and had anything to do with the further series.
Right.
And Spock in that one is weird and emotional and not quite Vulcan.
And he smiles at a flower.
Oh, he creepy smiles at a flower. I mean, he really creepy smiles at a flower.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the ears or the eyebrows, but that smile was I'm about to murder you kind of thing. So we see the progression through the cage. So the cage is Christopher Pike gets captured by these aliens.
Mm-hmm.
He's put with this woman. They keep messing with his mind and trying to put him in illusions. It's very clear that he's part of a menagerie. They even say the name. I do like that. They say the name of both episodes, the menagerie and the cage, in the episode, which is great.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Reminds me of that Family Guy or Simpsons when they're like, I love it when they say the name of the show, Menagerie. Woo!
Yeah. There are a lot of weird creatures in the menagerie. There's the bird guy. I love the bird guy, which is only in the cage. In the physical menagerie in the show.
Okay,
There's the bird guy. I love the bird guy. Rob, do you remember the bird guy from the cage?
The bird guy? No.
Yeah, he was she was talking about all the different species that they had captured, and then you see down the hall in one of the glass cases this kind of reflection, but then I guess you see his wing or something.
Yeah.
But it's like this humanoid form that looks
weird.
Like a bird guy. Yeah.
There he is.
Hawk guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a black raven kind of guy. So anyway, so they keep pushing him through the experiences. At some point, there's a break, and we're starting to see Spock is being cooperative but non-cooperative. He's like, well, I'll show you, and they keep going, well, how are you doing this? Because it's not like we're led to a state of disbelief with how they're showing this. It's clear to Kirk and the Commodore that they can't possibly be seeing these shots. How would they have done that?
They say an earlier shot that they don't have the technology to have recorded what they're seeing,
and especially not in that quality.
They're seeing it.
Now, this actually was the reason when I said I thought it was great. This was it, because I can point to what I like so much. I see this all the time in shows when it's like a flashback, and it's obviously like a 3-camera shoot flashback, and you're like, what? I love that it was addressed, and it was addressed right at the point that I thought, boy, is that weird. I think every time this was done really well, and I loved the explanation.
And it's one of those things where they sort of hand wave it, but they sort of hand wave it in a way that shows respect for the reader or the watchers,
right?
The viewers. They go, oh, well, you can't tell you that, but you slowly learn that there's more to it. I think this is one of those cases where I would have, had they not explained it later and had just let it happen, I would have been irritated, because why aren't we getting to see what's going on? Why are they treating us like we're dumb? And they didn't treat us like they're dumb. They treated us like we didn't know any more than Kirk, and we started learning more as we went. So I appreciate that. I think it shows writing for a more intelligent audience, or writing in a way that they expect their audience to be intelligent, which is what you want to do. You want to treat them with respect and so on and so forth. So
well, and it might have been. They were definitely trying to slow things down because they were getting behind on production, and this was a way to do that by building this Frankenstein of an episode. It could also be that Roddenberry was saying, if we're gonna do this, let's put an explanation behind it.
Yeah.
Not even like that might literally be respect for the audience, or it might just be him looking at it going, this is my show, this is my deal. I can't just, throw this in there. I have to explain it.
Yeah. Either way, I think it works out really well, and we start to learn that the aliens from the Talosians or Talosians or whatever they call them are they're actually the ones that are showing the image. They're communicating that image, but Spock has set it up so it looks like it's just a video playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they go through all of those steps. They learn about what happened to Pike. They learn that they were trying to help him, and then they find out very much towards the end that Pike can go down to the planet and live his life out, not in pain, not as an invalid. And this is Spock's last way of honoring him and his previous captain, who he was with for, they said, 11 years. Mm-hmm. It was a long time. So
So how was that disappointing to you?
It wasn't that. It was that the Commodore didn't exist. He existed on the space station. So we learned right there at the end that the Commodore was actually also part of Kirk
of the illusion.
Learning about it.
Yeah.
I just didn't care for that.
You didn't like that?
No, I felt like I don't know. It felt less impactful because there was no real danger. The Commodore was never there. Then we find out real quick from Starfleet there was a death order for going to Talos 4.
Yeah.
Well, that's been waived. So.
Yeah. See, that didn't bother me at all. I actually thought it was interesting because the whole thing was a setup so that Kirk wouldn't. If things had gone south, Kirk wouldn't face the death penalty. That was all that was. And to me, I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Spock, in his way, was protecting Kirk. And you're thinking of the odds of them being in danger. I'm thinking more in the odds of, there was a threat that how do you write it in a way that actually has impact? Yeah. Now, if they had left him there and made it scary, I guess you could do it that way. But I found this to be an interesting twist on it.
Yeah. And they also had to think of, what Captain Kirk would have actually done, because even Spock said it. We had to make it so that you would actually believe, because it probably wouldn't have been in Captain Kirk's character to, even though you explain this to me, yes, I have a heart, but we can't, break these rules. So they probably would have not ended up going out there.
Yeah. So this is the second time that we get to see an Orion slave girl, which is important. They touch.
It's the same person.
It is
footage from the first movie.
It is footage from the first movie, but they do expound on it a little more. Menendez, the Commodore.
Yeah.
He says that they're like animals, vicious and seductive. They say no human male can resist them, which is building something that becomes very important across the rest of the series as they go. And I like that. I really do appreciate that they're building that. They're starting to build.
Yeah, there's world building already happening at this point.
Yeah.
That's beyond the basics. They're getting deeper already.
Yeah, and they've done some already, but it's been a little inconsistent. Even this episode is inconsistent. We don't get to see we don't get to see Sulu at all in this episode. I don't know, either one of the episodes.
No, not at all.
Scotty is there in the first part, but not in the second.
Right.
And he's barely there. He turns on the TV.
Yeah.
Well, really, the second part, it's just Kirk and Spock. We don't really see anybody else.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing with Uhura. She's there briefly, and then McCoy has a bit of a part in the first one, but not anything in the second one. So
I wouldn't even call it a bit. I would call it a bit. It was tiny.
Yeah. He's there to be the Doctor, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So that was our kind of the plot overview and some touches on that. You, Shirley, what were you going to say about Pike?
No, I found some interesting things about, one, his makeup, and two, his who it was. In the first movie, Jeff Hunter was Pike, the actor, and
in the first movie or the cage? In the cage or the first movie?
Yes, in the cage.
You said okay. Yeah.
In the first movie, in the cage, and he was unavailable, so Gene Roddenberry had to search for somebody else. And when they were interviewing for this, Sean Kinney actually got the part, and they sold it as a leading role, which, it was a leading role other than Captain Kirk. And the spin that they put on it is like, you have to sit, you have no lines, and your face is going to be painted shut.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, oh, okay, what kind of leading role is this? And I found it is interesting that Sean Kinney, the actor in the Menagerie, also wrote a book called Captain Pike Found Alive, which I am totally going to Google that and read it now.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is his makeup, it was plaster of Paris.
Oh.
And
well,
they put like rubber.
Really?
rubber hoses in his nose so he could breathe. But he literally was in this makeup all day doing all these scenes, and he could not talk. Like, he couldn't carry conversations on with any of the cast or anything. And it says that he had to eat his lunches through a straw.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, that's the
Isn't that
worst.
crazy?
That's some dedication for sure.
Like, I was like, what kind of leading role is this?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's somebody wanting the paycheck, that's for sure.
Definitely. So that was what we got from the book. What is this? This is called These Are the Voyages.
Yeah, These Are the Voyages, and this is
season
TOS, or which is...
Well, there's only TOS. That's the only thing they did with this.
Which is season 1, and I just found it interesting that at this point in time, they don't have any, like, vinyl or rubbery type of makeup. They're using plaster of Paris.
Well, I'm sure they did have some, like, rubbery stuff, but it probably didn't adhere to the skin very well.
Right.
So, yeah, Pike was all weird, and you kind of touched base on the guest star there. Were there, other than the ones from the cage, there wasn't anybody new? Well, there was the Commodore.
There's
Thorn.
The Commodore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Malachi? Probably Malachi. We are totally cultured over
You're
here.
trying to...
Malachi, wait a minute.
Malachi.
Where did that come from?
Yeah. So
Malachi Throne. I'm going to go with Malachi from here on out. I like that.
Yeah, Malachi Throne. He was in a lot of stuff. He plays the Commodore here. On Star Trek The Next Generation, he plays Pardek, one of the members of the Romulan Senate.
Ooh.
And then he appears in New Voyages. What is the second episode of What is that? New Voyages.
New Voyages.
Uh-oh.
Is that one of those fan film things?
It is. He's in a fan series playing, appearing there as well. That's kind of awesome that he was in a fan series. He was in Batman, the 1966 series. What were you going to say?
I was going to say he wins when you said that, but Sean Kenny that played Oatmeal, he looked like Oatmeal is what it looked like to me. But so Sean Kenny was actually, or is going to be in one of those fan films coming up. He's Pike with the oatmeal on his face. He is in one. He's playing Commodore DePaul in Star Trek: Captain Pike.
Nice.
So when I saw that, I thought, oh, is this like a Star Trek project? And then I went, oh, I bet it's a fan film, because also in here it listed like Hidden Frontier and some of these other things that are all fan film things.
Yeah, well, and it looks like he was also in Lieutenant DePaul in Arena and Taste of Armageddon, so he may be reprising the role.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I love it. Yeah, we get Susan Oliver and Jeffrey Hunter. But Jill Barrett is back. They're all from The Cage. They were all really good. We get a different yeoman this time, who's on the space station. And, it's just a little bit of everything here. It was a little different and a little interesting. But it was really pretty big cast, but not a lot of people on the screen. Like, it was all people we'd already seen for that. So
Right. That makes sense.
And Malachi Throne.
Malachi Throne.
Who, as I was saying earlier, was in the 1966 Batman, but he was also in the new Batman Adventures. He was the voice of the Judge, which was one of Two-Face's egos, and then Fingers the Gorilla in Batman Beyond. Fingers the Gorilla. And then he was also in Babylon 5.
Yes, and he played God on Animaniacs.
Oh.
Yeah,
well.
Now you're interested.
Yeah. He could have played anything on Animaniacs. I'd be excited.
Oh, great. That song's in my head.
I bet, my bet, without having known Shirley, I bet she knows the Capitol song right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead, start singing. Go.
No, just sing it, but I bet you know it.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know.
So, yeah, no, that's great.
Now that's in my head.
I love seeing
it.
like.
Yep. Oh, he was on $6 Million Man also.
Oh, was he?
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
everybody. Well, And we've seen a lot of those where, like, there are these bit actors that bounce from show to show. A lot of, like, Gunsmoke and...
yep, all that stuff from that time period. If
Yeah.
you got in with a studio, you were on all these shows with bit part.
Yeah.
Just tons of them. Yeah, this guy's got a huge list.
Oh, yeah. We didn't. We only saw the Telosians, which were a strange race. I don't think there was anything else we saw on this. We know they were all there because they were in the cage.
Right.
Because they were all the weird monster things.
Things that they had captured.
Like that awesome bird that I sent you in Skype chat there.
Yes, which is awesome. I'm enjoying that. So these are the guys. Is this the big guy with the weird teeth? Is that a Telosian?
No, he's the bulbous head ones, the ones that talk through their minds.
Those are the Telosians.
Yeah, those are the
Who's
Telosians.
the guy with the big teeth?
I had that Mego toy.
Yeah, the guy with the axe and the shield when he's defending.
Oh.
The guy that has like the helmet on that makes it look like his head is extra long.
The thing is, I seriously think this guy looks like Charlton Heston.
Okay.
He does.
Okay.
Like,
That's a thing.
He resembles Charlton Heston. I feel like they just like took some wooden denture teeth and put them in his mouth. I don't know who the guy is. I know it's not Charlton Heston, but he resembles him.
Yeah. Nope, I'm not seeing him either, but that's okay. He was a weird alien thing, and it was all like medieval weapons laying all around. That was a
very strange scene. That was so like 60s sci-fi. Like you'd see that same kind of scene on like Lost in Space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So anything else that stuck out? Anything else you guys... I like to think that in the future we have more than just a button that beeps once or twice to say yes or no.
I kept thinking that. I was like, don't we already have it? Don't we have communication with people that can't speak already? Oh, yeah, there's something called the iPad now that helps with that. That was...
Well, and wouldn't you just hire a telepath or a telepath? I mean,
yes, you would think there'd be something. There'd be something there, but no. Instead, it's just
they don't.
One button for yes, one for no.
So, yeah, and it just makes you wonder, like, all these technological advances that they could dream up, and then we're going to stick this guy in a covered wheelchair with a beepy light.
Yeah. It was just so...
Had they found Deanna Troy's race by now?
According to Star Trek lore from The Next Generation, Beta Zed was one of the early joiners of the Federation.
Yeah.
This is where my nerd card comes flying out hard. They would have been part of the Federation by this point. But
see, why don't they have a telepath?
Well, but we never touch on that until, technically, there is a telepath that was on the ship with Pike. Michelle Barrett.
Come on. Gosh.
Shirley's like, I can see the gears spinning. Who was that? I don't remember one.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'll go with it. I'll buy that. So
yeah.
But she's reoccurring in the Menagerie as the computer voice. So
that's true. That's true. And she does the computer voice all through everything.
Yes.
Rob, did you watch this on Netflix?
Yes.
Did you know that was the remastered version?
I did. Absolutely. I actually, here comes my nerd card. I have the Menagerie on Laserdisc.
Oh,
nice!
Do you have a Laserdisc player?
Gosh.
Yes. I actually had two, but one of them died. This one is on its last leg, so I never use it. But I do have the Menagerie on Laserdisc, and you could definitely tell as soon as it started, I was like, oh, this is the remastered.
Right on, yeah, because Talos 4 looks completely different. It goes from this like volcanic rock-looking planet to like this grayish blue.
Yeah.
And then
icy kind of planet looking.
Yeah, and then the backdrop where they do the picnic with the horse, the weird horse that just kind of stands there.
Yeah.
That is completely different and updated. I'm glad I keep saying this. I'm glad we're getting the updated, the remastered version. But some of the stuff that they did in the older stuff was cool looking too. Like I like the original Talos 4 way more.
Well,
I think it looks fantastic.
I think they've done a good job. If you get the Blu-ray of it, it does. I think it has both versions, so you can go side by side. Because I know that with Next Generation, the Blu-ray has some of the other, like the original, so you can kind of compare back to back.
Yeah. We went and saw.
But it doesn't have that Laserdisc. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they released the remastered version for Star Trek: The Next Generation. And we went and saw a couple of the first season episodes in the theater, and that was
for Gen Con.
No, it wasn't for Gen Con. That was just random event.
Oh.
But it was just this gorgeous on the big screen was just phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
And it was
on the big screen.
One of them was the crystalline entity. We got to see the crystalline entity on the big screen remastered, and it was just phenomenal.
That's cool.
So anything else that really stuck out to either one of you guys, other than, I don't know, the reuse of the cage? I don't think this was bad. I think they really solidly reused an old episode. I think this was really innovative for 1966 for the story that they wrote around it, and then for what the studio did with essentially footage they were never going to use.
Yeah, I actually thought it was well done. I said that at the beginning, though. I liked how they integrated it. I liked how they used it. I think if you are getting behind, this was a very clever way of getting caught up, so you're not, failing during the season. I don't think shows now have the same issue. But back then, it was, if you fell behind a little bit, you were really in trouble. Like, I don't know if you've ever read, I can't think of the name of the book. There's a comic book about TV production in like the early 50s, and it's one of these shows like Captain Video. Boy, I wish I could think of the name of it. And in this comic, a lot of it is the backstage stuff, and it is very much that. Like, they're going, we don't have this scene, so we have to go do it live right now. And they're like, but how are we going to do the wire work or whatever? And they're like, we just run and jump and throw a ship across the screen. And it's like, wow, Star Trek was just a little bit past that time frame.
Right.
Pretty crazy. So when they fell behind, that could have been the end. The show could have ended much sooner than it did.
Yeah. No, I like a lot of what they did. I like how it still seems to fit. It does. It like, it's weird that Spock was mutinous at first, and then you kind of learn why. And Kirk accuses him of being emotional.
Yeah. Oh, and, you can't know that.
Well, but there's still they still touch on that. So I like it, and I think it's well done, and I think it's well handled. It's just different, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, other than clip shows, which aren't quite the same.
Right. Yeah, this was. I didn't feel. I guess that's the big point. This didn't feel like a clip show to me. This felt like they were trying to make something original out of something they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Clip shows are the worst.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us to the last bit of our show, the reoccurring items. So normally we look for things that Bones says, a couple of things that Bones says. Bones doesn't say anything about being a doctor and not something else. And It doesn't say anything about anybody being dead. Bones doesn't get to do much of anything, really.
Kirk almost gets the... Oh, no.
No, that's Pike. Kirk normally gets a lady, except that he hasn't really gotten many ladies so far.
No.
No, but he was smarmy in it.
Yeah.
He did have...
He was.
He had a couple of points when he was kind of looking like, And I was, oh, man, there's Kirk. When the one brought them the drinks or whatever...
Yeah, definitely.
And he kind of made a face. I thought, really, man?
She's doing her job.
Yeah. Oh, I know of you, Captain Kirk. Oh, you do? Yeah, a friend told me all about you.
No,
I was like,
Helen.
Oh, Helen. He's like, oh.
Now, when I heard her name, am I correct in assuming this is the Helen that is in charge of the Genesis project?
No, that is not Helen. That is.
But how awesome would that be? Can we write down that? Because that's fantastic.
That would have been amazing.
No, that's...
Darn, I thought that's who that was.
All I keep hearing is Chekhov screaming, or saying Genesis over and again. Genesis! Oh, no, that is not even the right Genesis. Good night. Project Genesis, there we go.
Right.
That's Carol Marcus.
Oh, Marcus.
Yeah.
Dr. Marcus.
Dr.
Marcus. Well, I knew it was a stretch.
So we have 0 red shirt deaths.
Yep.
Because there are 0 actual deaths in this.
Right.
And then Uhura only answers the phone. That's all she gets to do in this one. Normally, sometimes she gets to do other things. Rob, I don't know if you remember the earlier episodes where she gets up and sings, or she weirdly hits on...
eyes at Spock and flirts with him?
She weirdly hits on Spock, but no, Uhura didn't do much in this one. She didn't have any screen time, really.
Right.
So.
And Spock is logical once.
And Spock is, I would argue that Spock is logical through the whole episodes, both of them.
Okay.
So those are our reoccurring
Absolutely.
items.
In fact, I think you're supposed to believe that he is not. And I love the reveal. And when you think back, he is completely within character.
Yep. And they even mentioned that, Vulcans don't lie, but then he essentially says, I lied because it was the most illogical thing to do.
Right.
Which is a weird transposition, but I think it works. I really like that part of it.
Yeah.
So, kind of give an overall feel for it. Shirley, what did you think out of 5?
Out of 5, I wouldn't say it was one of my favorite episodes. I really liked it. I liked the story. I liked the integration. I liked the new characters they brought in. So I would give it a 2.5.
Okay. Rob, what about you?
What's the scale? Out of how many?
Out of 5?
You're going to hate me for this, but I love everything. I'm giving it a 4.
Oh, nice. No, you're fine. Hey, you can like bad things. I can like bad.
Well, I do, actually. And I think that I'll tell you why it's probably skewed. If I was going through episode by episode, rewatching them, I don't know what I would give it. I did this as a one-shot. I watched The Menagerie and just went, wow, I haven't watched original Trek in a while. I had so much fun watching it, watching the remastered thing. There was so much enjoyable that I'd go, you know what, this is a 4 for me. Now, if I watch it within the context of the show, would it still fall there? Probably not. There are definitely better episodes. But I did enjoy it.
Honestly, this was not a bad episode. We've yet to hit a really bad one. There have been some weird ones where there's been fun stuff. We've hit Harry Mudd, so there's that. I loved Harry Mudd. But this one, I would say, honestly, for me, is like a 3. It's better than average. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the way they use the cage footage is innovative and intelligent. They treat their audience intelligently. They expect us to think outside of just what we're being shown and make our own minds up about things. And I like that. I like that the show is.
Sounds like a 5.
No, there's still some.
It sounds more like a 4 than it does a 3, though. I'll tell you that.
I know, right, Rob?
That reveal, though, that reveal at the end where the Commodore was not there the whole time really does it knocks it down. So you know what? I'll bump it to a 3.5. I'll bump it to a 3.5.
That was like an emotionally impactful moment. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Now wait a minute. I'll tell you what I thought when you said the end before. You said you didn't like something at the end. I thought what you were going to say was how quickly Pike walked, was out of the room, and then he's walking into the thing on this planet. I was like, wait a minute. Is he watching old footage? What's he watching?
I know, because he just went out of the room.
I just assumed that they projected that to Kirk so he felt good about it. That was my assumption. Like, they had already projected all this stuff to Kirk. Kirk needed that closure before he left.
No. And I'll tell you why. Because they said he is seeing the illusion. You are seeing reality.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Huh.
So.
Fair enough.
I was like, the transporter must have been, like, next doors.
So Rob, we can find you guys at southgatemediagroup.com. What's your Twitter handle for the overall?
The overall for the company, it's at SMG Pods, and then all the shows have their own Twitter handles. I have one which is at @Southgate. We're on Instagram and Tumblr, and I mean, you name it.
Facebook,
we're probably there. Yeah, Facebook. Just look up Southgate Media Group. And Southgate is one word. That's the one people keep telling me they're putting South and then they're putting Gate. And it's like, no, it's one word. It's our last name.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, we had nerdsdom.com, and for a long time we'd search for nerdsdom, and it'd come up with, did you mean Nordstrom's? And not at all, really, at all.
Store, dude.
So, yeah, it could be a little worse. You never know. And definitely check you guys out for all those things. You do a little bit of everything. A lot of the shows are wrapping up. Anything cool coming up this summer that we might want to check out?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of things. As far as shows that are currently running, The Flash Arrow podcast is doing a summer series where they are going back and rewatching the first season of Arrow and having a guest each week talk about that. And I didn't watch Arrow, so I was just on talking about the second episode, which was fun. And it was, they wanted to spoil so much. It was so much fun because they're like, no, this is what happens. I'm like, no, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Oh, you haven't seen any of it?
I've only seen the first 6 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's a way to watch it then.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's fun. Enough Said always does a summer series. We did one last year where we went through the first phase of the Marvel movies. This year we're doing animated films, and they look pretty cool. So I think that's going to be fun. We have some new shows on the horizon, and Blue Box has 2 brand new shows that are going to debut next month. One is a binge watch type show where we're just going to talk about, because we all binge watch stuff, we're just going to take one and, hey, everybody, we're going to watch True Detective. And then the next month we talk about True Detective. So that's going to be fun. And then we're doing a countdown show, which you guys will be part of, where we're going through the different, because we have over 70 podcasters here. And we say, give us your top 5 superhero moments. Give us your top 5 horror movies. Give us your top 5 lines from, movie history. And we compile those, and then we talk about those tops. And we get the audience involved. So that's new stuff that's on the horizon.
Yeah, we just finished. This episode will be coming out in like October or November, but we just finished up True Detective, and it blew our minds.
It was amazing.
Martha and I are 3 episodes in, so
okay.
When we hang up, we put Molly to bed, and we're probably watching a little True Detective tonight.
Right on. So for Enough Said, have you guys touched the Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes yet?
No, actually, I think that's part of the slate for this summer.
Right on. If you need a guest, you let me know. I love that series with a passion.
Oh, all right. Well, absolutely, we'll keep you in mind. In fact, I don't know if it's part of the summer series, but we have had people talk about it, and Alil talks about it. He might want to do a little offshoot with you, so I'll let him.
Yeah. I would be happy. Alil's a cool guy, so I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, he is. He's a lot of fun. He doesn't admit it when I call him out on this, but he was a super fan. That's how we got him.
Right on.
He
that's the best way
listening.
to do it.
He was listening to Enough Said, and he was writing me, and I finally reached out to him because I listened to his show, which is really good. It's The League of Geeks with a Z. And I said, hey, would you like to be on our summer series, just guest once in a while? And I can't get rid of him.
Nice.
And he's awesome. He's just a great guy.
Right on. Well, Rob, thank you very much. Check him out all at his website and all the social media links out there. Definitely worth checking out. Keep an eye out for any kind of Midwest area conventions that Southgate Media might be at. You can learn all about podcasting or geeking your kids or.
Oh yeah, we're at all of them. We do Geektastic Cage Match. We do all sorts of fun stuff. So look at the cons and see if you see the name, because we'll be there. Right
on. And that'll do us tonight for There Are 4 Lights, and we will talk to you guys real soon.
And that'll do us tonight for
There Are 4 Lights.
Remember, you can email us at thereare4lightspodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter at nerdsdomain, or over at our site, nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. A big thanks to 5 Year Mission for their music. You can find them at 5yearmission.net. Don't forget you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain. And check out our shirts at /loot.